Hi, I'm Kimberly with Astrology Bodies, and today's video is about April. It's an overview, and I'm just going to go over the main highlights of the month. And you might notice, or maybe you don't know yet, that this is an eclipse month. And so it definitely gives an energy of change. So right now I have the chart set up for the 1st of April, just to show that we're coming out of we're still in a new moon phase. So the day before yesterday, last night for the West Coast people, I'm in Los Angeles. Last night was the official new moon. So most places in the world, it's happening on April 1st. New moon in Aries, and I talk about that in my March video because it happens technically at the end of the month. But just showing that we're in this energy of action, and it's tied to Mercury. So Mercury is much more bold in Aries. It definitely wants to take action, especially talking about this action. Now we're going to talk about the next big event. All right, so I've set up these charts to be exact for the time of the aspects. And that's how the chart is laid out. So in other words, I'm not starting with always Aries at the beginning. So let's talk about Mars and Saturn. So these are traditionally the difficult planets. And so Mars is more acute. It quickly inflames things, whereas Saturn is a little bit more long-term with the delays and obligations and challenges. So they're joining together in Aquarius. And since Saturn rules Aquarius, it pretty much is the one in charge here. So Mars comes along, and the good thing is it speeds things up. The challenge here is, and you'll notice I brought this up in the my last video about March, it is square the nodes. So there's a lot of pressure hitting right here, especially in Mars and Saturn. Action, the establishment, these things are being challenged, pressurized, a lot of focus here. So I hope that means that Russia is being pressured, like very strongly pressured, to stop their invasion. I am not an expert in mundane astrology, but that's what it looks like for me. Venus, you can see, is on its way out of Aquarius, and she cannot wait to get out of there. She's heading to Pisces, where she is much happier. So while this conjunction is happening with Mars and Saturn, the moon conjuncts the nodes here. So that's like a triggering action. So there definitely could be some event worldwide because of this exact degree here when when moon exactly conjuncts the node. So what does this mean for individuals, for you personally, the listener, watcher? You have to know your chart. It always comes down to that. So where's Aquarius? Where are the fixed signs in your chart? If you know your chart, you're going to know exactly what areas of life that's hitting. I'm a Leo, and my sun is right over here, exactly opposite. It's at 21. So I can definitely feel the internal pressure changes. And so it's all about how you work with it. Are you working with this constructively? So if you have a lot of planets and fixed signs, Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius, you're going to feel this in some way, just a matter of where it is in your chart. So that will tell you what part of your life. So do you know where that is? So April is a challenging month, most of it. At the very, very end, we get a little bit of relief. All right, next one. All right, the next big thing, and this is big, Jupiter and Neptune. Now, this is big in itself because it only happens once every 12 years, but it also happens in Pisces. Jupiter rules Pisces. I didn't look up the dates, but it's like hundreds of years since this has happened in Pisces. So the modern astrologers like to give rulership to Neptune over Pisces. So it's going to be, everyone realizes how significant this is. But whenever I see this, I really think about flooding. So weather-wise, certain parts of the world, wherever this conjunction is aligning over a country or city, that's where you're going to probably get some flooding here. That's like the middle of April. So what does this mean? This is very, like, we have this happening while we have all this challenge with the nodes. Saturn is still square the nodes. It's lasting for at least 2 months. You might even feel it longer than that. But at the same time, we have this big vision happening here. This is a time to really hone in on meditation. What is your vision for the future? Especially a creative, artistic outlet. You could think of that for the next 12 years. What is your creative outlet? What do you want to create? This Pisces is a bigger vision here. It's not a small little plan. It's a big plan that can affect, you want to think maybe as far as how you're impacting the world. How are you as an individual? Can you impact the world? Where is this in your chart? Where is Pisces? So you might specifically notice that you're rethinking your philosophy, or maybe you need more connection to spirit, God, church. Maybe you need to do some more higher education, but it's the bigger picture, right? It's not the day-to-day stuff. So where is that happening for you? Oh yeah. So now notice here. So this is, let's see here. Over here in Los Angeles, it happens super early in the morning, and they stay really they stay close conjunction because they're slow moving. This lasts for, you could say, a week or two. So, and the moon comes around the day that they are conjunct. It comes around and exactly opposes Jupiter and Neptune. What does that mean? I think this is more significant for mutable signs: Pisces, Virgo, Sag, and Gemini. Moon in Virgo is opposite. See, here's Virgo. Moon is going to move into Virgo, opposite. Moon is going to remind the Jupiter and Neptune that you still need to think how you're going to implement that big vision. Like, how can you make it realistic? Because Virgo is opposite. It's like the day-to-day, the very small details. So this opposition here is a challenge to it. Okay. So it doesn't last. Obviously, this challenge doesn't last long, but this is a moment or a few days where you can really think about the vision realistically. So here we are into the full moon. We are halfway into the month, April 16th. It is a full moon in Libra, Aries, Sun, Libra, Moon, and it is square to Pluto. So that is definitely a power struggle. So with the full moon, you might have a sense of coming to a head, like coming to a conclusion, being aware of any hidden agendas that might show someone trying to taking control of a situation, maybe not a person, but maybe just more in an underhanded way, trying to get power into a situation. But I want to point out that Libra is ruled by Venus, Aries is ruled by Mars, and they are both now in Pisces, Venus, Mars. Even though they're not conjunct, they're close, and they're going to be in close proximity all the way until Venus moves on to Aries. This is helpful. And then I also want to point out, this is good to know, the nodes, Venus and Scorpio, are also ruled by Mars and Venus. They are here. So these two in Pisces are ruling over this full moon and the nodes. So now that they've moved into a much more peaceful sign, you could say passive, you could say dreamy, sleepy, but it just really softens that Mars energy, right? It's not so in your face and blunt. So That's also why I have a little bit of hope for some peace talks with Russia and Ukraine. When these move into Pisces, this is the middle of the month, it can ease some tensions here, even though we've got this square to the full moon. So that just gives a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. So fingers crossed. Okay, so here is another part of the challenging month of April. So we had that the full moon, you know, obviously it doesn't just last for a day, those effects go on, but at the same time, there's definitely some anxiety. Mercury joining up with Uranus. And I say that because Mercury's thought processing, words, communication, correspondence, and Uranus is disruption. It's very unbalanced and it can reverse things. And if you want to look at it from a health perspective, because this sometimes helps a lot, Mercury has to do with the nerves. Uranus is electricity. So irritated nerves, you can think of it that way. Maybe particularly, this is not a health video, but just real quick, Taurus rules the neck, maybe some neck issues, or think about voicing your concerns, right? There may be a lot of anxiety about that. But since Venus is in Pisces, maybe not so bad, right? That really makes things a lot easier here. Even as Mercury conjuncts Uranus, and then it's going to conjunct the North Node, right? And that's going to add more friction to Saturn. So you can see how these overlap. Now here's another good part. Venus is at 13. So Mercury and Venus, very artistic, very helpful aspect here. They are sextile to each other. This is a very peaceful relationship, especially since Uranus is there. So these two combined sextile here, it definitely eases it. There's anxiety, but it can be soothed. It can be relaxed. So if you have anxiety or you have panic attacks, think of how this can affect you. What are you thinking about? What are you talking about? It's causing you anxiety here. How can you soothe it? So look at your chart to figure out where these are lining up. What part of your chart? So if I looked at this chart here, if someone had Scorpio rising, this is affecting their social life. This is affecting, and particularly their important relationships. These are other people and significant relationships. So social life, children also, that's the area. If you're Scorpio rising, that's where it would be affecting. So that's why you need to know your chart. All right, so on to April 23rd. So this is just pointing out what I talked about, Mercury conjunct the nodes here. You can actually see it 22, 23. So that's still a degree away. So this is definitely in play still. You can also think of it as a way to communicate your vision, right? Because Venus and Mars are in Pisces, and Venus and Mars are ruling over these nodes. So it's kind of a separate thing here. We've got this challenge, but it can be worked with. How do you connect? How do you talk about your vision? How do you actually behave and model your behavior as you head towards your vision? Think of it that way. So here we get to the better part of the month. It's at the end. We had this, like, it's such a great, nice, optimistic thing to have Jupiter conjunct Neptune, but it really is not the best part at this time. It's when Venus comes in with Pisces and joins up with Neptune and then Jupiter. So it's connecting it with even more peace, with more soothing, more relaxing. Yeah, we have Mars here, but it's much more understated in Pisces. It can help speed things up, especially the goal or vision that you have. Wait, did I go over? Yeah. So we're getting there. So this is happening right before the eclipse. So this stellium here, this is what I want you to pay attention to. Where is it in your chart? So look at the end of the month. It's a good time to retreat, to reflect, paint, meditate, just reflect where you're going, think about your path, not just what you want to accomplish, but how it can help other people. That's the compassion, that empathic part of Pisces. And you probably are already feeling the eclipse by now because it happens just a few days later. Here's the eclipse. Sun and moon, 10 degrees Taurus, really close to Uranus. So disruptive. I already talked about Uranus, just reversals, unbalanced, electrical, sudden outbursts, disruption. This is the eclipse happening here. Fixed signs. It's affecting fixed signs. Anywhere you have, 9, 10, 11 degrees of Taurus or fixed sign. I myself have a planet at just under 9 degrees of Taurus. So this is landing right on my planet. All right. So the lesson is be ready for change. Be ready to feel unbalanced and unsure, but go with the disruption. Don't fight it. So the effects of an eclipse last, you may feel it intensely for a couple of weeks, but it still will take time for it could manifest a couple of months from now. We have an eclipse every 6 months. So an actual event may not happen on that day. So that's why you need to know your chart. Maybe this eclipse happens and the moon comes along and then it joins up with Uranus or the nodes, and maybe the node is sitting on something in your chart. So if this 22 fixed position, or especially Taurus, and the moon comes along, it can trigger an event on that day. So do you know your chart? Do you know where these Taurus degrees are? You can see over here at the same time, Venus is conjunct Jupiter. So this is going to help out because Venus is ruling. It rules over this new moon / solar eclipse. This conjunction is going to affect this. So that does help ease it for sure. So big picture here. That's what you need to focus on. So I hope you find this useful and that you see that the better you know your chart and how an astrologer can help you know your chart, or even just give you the plan for the year, right? I can give you exactly what you need to focus on each month for a year. And then you know how to plan, you know what to focus on. You don't waste your time and energy worrying about some small things that are really not there for you in the bigger picture. I have a free class on my website dealing with daily stress and what planet to look at, and it lays it all out for you. You don't have to look anything up. All the information is there, and real tips and tricks for you. And the next video will be health and wellness for Taurus. I just put out my Aries wellness video the 20th or 21st of March. So it gives you the Aries themes and how to deal with wellness for that particular month. See you soon.